Yeah, so like I was saying with the fan is that I noticed that, as soon as I turned my head to the left, all of a sudden, okay, from my ceiling fan, the chains that hang down, is that they'd start clicking together like this. They'd start actually hitting each other, and they'd start hitting each other like this, and they'd start clicking like, because they'd start touching each other like that. And again, the fan wouldn't have changed speeds. The fan's only actually on one speed. We don't even have a clicker for it. So the ceiling fan will be spinning with the fan on, and the whole time it will be quiet. They won't be touching. Like they'll just be sitting there. They'll be really close though, but they'll kind of be swaying, but never really touching. And then all of a sudden, as soon as I turn my head to the left, they start going like this. They start hitting each other, and they start clicking against each other. I started noticing that it starts clicking. I'm like, that's really weird. So then I tested it to make, so again, this is where it came in where I really knew for sure, is that I tried it. I tested multiple times. Okay, so all of a sudden I'd lay there, as soon as I turned my head to the left, and I'm not even joking when I say this, I mean, it would instantaneously start going like this. And it would start touching. I don't even know what's happening. I have no idea. I'm not saying I'm doing it or what's happening. All I know is that I'm just telling you what's happening. And all I know is that when I turn my head to the left, those things start clicking like this, okay? And again, some people, well, it probably does click and you're just not realizing it. And I'm telling you, you're dead wrong. I tried this multiple times, and it would go instantaneously with my head, exact same time. I'd sit there, I'd wait even minutes. I'd wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and the chains wouldn't click on the fan, and I would just lay there, and then I go, okay, and I test it, and I go like this. As soon as I turn my head to the left, they go. As long as I had my head turned to the left like this, they would continue to click together like that, okay? And as soon as I turned my head to the right, it would stop. It wouldn't click anymore, and then it would go back, staying apart like this, and they would just kind of sway, kind of close, okay? And as long as I left my head to the right, it would stay not clicking. It would just stay like this for 5 minutes straight, 10 minutes. It wouldn't even click. But as soon as I turned my head to the left like that, it will start clicking. Even if it was only 1 second. So I would test this. I mean, I did this multiple times. I'm not even joking. And it statistically happened, and it is instantaneously. And as soon as I turned my head to the left, even if it was just for 1 second, it would click. So if I would sit there, it would stay not clicking. And if I turned my head like this, let's say just for like 1 second, I go like this, turn my head to the left and back, it would just click once. It would go like this. And then it would stop. If I turn my head like this for 5 seconds, it would start clicking for 5 seconds and go. And then as soon as I turn my head to the right again, it would just stop. And honestly, I don't know what to tell you. Anyone who thinks like I'm just trying to say this or make it up, I have no idea what's going on or what's happening or how that's happening. All I can tell you is that it would do that when I turn my head to the left. I wanted to tell someone, and I wanted to show someone. And I was just like, no, I don't want to say anything. I'm like, I was honestly like, I don't even want to say anything or even think about it, because I knew that if I did that was direct evidence, direct proof. And like something would happen, even like someone would come in and like switch out the little handle or the chain, or just something would happen. They'd rig it up so it would stop doing it. And then, so I didn't want to tell anyone. But after a while, I tested it so many times for like a few days, and I was just like, I cannot not tell anyone this. So one day, family members came in while I was doing this, while I was just practicing, kind of, and they walked through the door, and I go, come over here, and I turned off the TV, right? And it was dead quiet in the living room on the couch, and I go, watch this. And I sat there, and I go, watch, it's going to move when I turn my head to the left. The chains on the fan are going to start clicking, and no matter how long I leave my head over to the left, it'll continue clicking, and as soon as I turn my head to the right, it'll stop. And I did that, and it was dead quiet, and I showed them, and they witnessed it, and they saw it. Okay, and then now guess what happened? As soon as I showed them this, I'm not joking, within like maybe a week or something like that, all of a sudden, okay, the chains hanging from the ceiling fan, it was like cut or something, or it randomly dropped. Okay, the chains that were hanging there, one fell, and was so either it was like cut or it just randomly dropped down from the ceiling fan. And let me tell you this, I've never in my whole entire life ever seen one of those. I've never seen one of those chains just drop from a ceiling fan like out of nowhere. Open and keep in mind that these ones were made out of like metal. They're like metal little chains. So how would it just fall or break, from the ceiling fan? Doesn't even make sense. And again, so I made a video of this after the chain broke. Okay, after the chain broke, I had filmed it, and I filmed the fan, and you can see where the chain's actually missing now. And when I zoom in, is that you'll see that from the chain that there's actually a little nodule sticking out from the chain, that where it goes in, it's sticking out a little nodule, which suggests that it may have been cut because there's still a knob. Because the chain didn't just fall out. Because if it just fell out, there would be nothing there in the ceiling fan where it was fixed to. But there's a little nodule, so it's still a part of the chain still in there. It's as if it broke or someone cut it. And what are the odds, you think, right after this just happens, the direct evidence and direct proof that I have of this ceiling fan with it, that it just randomly so happens, when I've never seen this in my whole entire lifetime, that one of those chains just happens to randomly drop from the ceiling fan. Okay, guys, someone or something, right, is trying to cover up this information. All right, guys, here's the fan, and if you'll see, I just want to point out a few key things about this fan. Is that you'll see that it's super high up in the middle of the living room here. It's probably about maybe like 12 to 15 feet high in the air above the living room. So I mean, it's a pretty high ceiling fan, and the reason why I point that out and the reason why that's important is because no one ever touched it. Okay, so anyone who's thinking maybe that maybe someone just pulled on the chain super hard, or was being used a lot, and someone broke it off, or it just got weak and fell, that's definitely not the case. No one ever touched those chains, and the only way we actually operated the fan and everything was just from an electrical switch from down below that we turn it on and off. What I'm going to show you here in just a second, I'm going to zoom in. There's a nodule that's actually sticking out of the fan where the metal chain was supposed to be attached to. So you can see it. And like I said, I'm going to zoom in really close so you can see it. See, as you can see right there, is that that nodule that's sticking out is where the chain used to be. And so it looks, so since that piece of the chain is still in there, it's like someone just snipped it. It's like someone just cut the chain. Okay, it definitely doesn't look like it just fell out on its own or something like that. If it had just fallen out by itself, it would have just slipped out of the entire hole and nothing would have even been there. And again, like I said, a key factor here is that no one even touches the chain. So what do you honestly think the odds are that chain that's tightly secured into that fan, a metal chain into the metal base of that fan, is just going to randomly drop out of nowhere, by itself? That's just never going to happen. And again, even if it was to happen to do that on some super rare occurrence, I mean, for the people who are saying it's a coincidence, I mean, what do you honestly think the odds are that chain is randomly just going to fall out within the matter of days after me discovering that I was moving with my head? I mean, come on, that's way too coincidental for that to be an accident. There's no way that it randomly just fell like that by itself at the same exact time. And so even if someone did it just to mess with me or play head games with me, it still proves that my house was under surveillance and I was being monitored. And so someone did it just to mess with me. So overall, the whole thing just doesn't make sense. It's not going to randomly fall out by itself, first of all, and it's definitely not going to do it within the same exact time frame, coincidentally, within the matter of days after I found out that I was moving with my head. That's not a coincidence. That means someone did something to it. It proves that someone, no matter what, was trying to cover this up. If I had this on film, which I was trying to get a camera set up to film all this, where you could actually see me laying on the couch and the chains actually clicking, and you could hear it and see it and everything to prove that it was real, is that it was actually statistical proof evidence that there's no way you could deny it, not even mathematically, that it was actually clicking together and it was moving precisely, exactly, at the exact moment that I would turn my head to the left, and it would completely stop right when I turned it to the right on cue, whether it's 1 second, 10 seconds, a whole minute straight, 5 minutes. And so that basically since it was direct evidence and proof, it was like someone, no matter what, they're like, we have to cut it or tamper it, because it was actually direct evidence. You couldn't deny it. And so again, someone was obviously trying to literally cover this up. And not only was someone trying to cover up this fact, but it also again proves that I was being monitored and my house was being monitored, and somehow people either heard what I said or saw it or both or something like that. All right, laters.